What's up, college football fans? Don't forget to check out and order your copy of Stiff Arming Football Myths, our latest football game plan book. So go on our website at footballgameplan.com/books and get your copy. We have these available in paperback as well as in PDF form. Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Memory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our preview of the 2014 Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl between the Ole Miss Rebels and the TCU Horned Frogs. Now let's take a look at some coaching points for both teams in this ball game, starting with Ole Miss.
For Ole Miss in this ball game, they have to match the tempo and pace that TCU brings to the table. A lot of times people think Ole Miss is just a grinded out football team, but truth be told, they can play any type of game. They can speed it up, they can slow it down, and they're going to have to probably do both versus TCU. And Robert Kimdichie, the defensive tackle, will have to be able to get off blocks and be disruptive on the inside versus TCU. He's great as far as getting pressure on the quarterback, but as far as defending the run, he doesn't disengage as quickly as you'd like. And it's power versus speed for Ole Miss. If you feel as though you can't compete with the speed of TCU when they go spread, slow the game down. Go power on offense, and on defense, press on the outsides to force Boykin to hold the football just a little bit too long. So I will say they can neutralize the speed of TCU by utilizing the power that they possess on both sides of the ball. And for TCU in this ball game, those inside receivers have to have success. You're talking about Deontay Gray, Ty Slanina. Those guys, I believe, have to make their way on the inside to open up the rest of the passing game for TCU. And I would force Bo Wallace to make quick decisions. TCU does a great job in applying pressure. They have a lot of speed in the front seven, and in that 4-2-5, they have the luxury of sending an extra defensive back on Bo Wallace and force a quick and inaccurate bad decision, and that way they can rally up, make a play, and perhaps get a turnover. And they have to maintain the line of scrimmage defensively. Ole Miss can easily lean on this defensive front of TCU and try to run the football downhill, hold water at the line of scrimmage, don't allow those guards to get to the second level, and that way the speed from the linebackers and safeties can make a play at or behind the line of scrimmage in the running game. The biggest X factor in this game for Ole Miss will be their ability inside the red zone on offense. If they're able to consistently put points up on the board, we know they can move the football. And if they're able to pay off with touchdowns instead of field goals, it puts a lot of pressure on that TCU offense to keep pace. Because, again, Ole Miss does have very good defensive players at every level, and they can get a stop or two that can get these guys off the field. So, again, it's important that Ole Miss, on the flip side, is able to capitalize in the red zone on offense. And I would look at precision passing being the biggest X factor for TCU. You look at Trayvon Boykin, who has had a sensational campaign this year throwing the football. Facing a defense like Ole Miss, a secondary like Ole Miss in particular, is like facing the Arizona Cardinals or the Seattle Seahawks. They don't let any errant pass hit the ground. They're always around the football. So he's going to have to be extra careful, very decisive and accurate this game versus Ole Miss. Now here are some 2015 draft prospects you want to keep an eye on in this ball game for Ole Miss. Two outstanding defensive backs, Sinquez Golson, one of the best ball hawks in the country with 9 interceptions on the season, and Cody Pruitt, a free safety that does a good job in showing tremendous range from sideline to sideline. And you look at TCU, 3 defensive players that have made the list. Sam Carter, outstanding strong safety with coverage skills, could be a good combo safety. Chucky Hunter on the inside gets a lot of pressure on both ends of defense. And I'm a big fan of Kevin White, that's 5'10", 175, but competes like a guy that's 6'1", 210. Parker Bullet Hall was an all-purpose dynamo for Ole Miss in the late 30s. As a senior, Hall led the nation in scoring with 11 touchdowns and 7 extra points. He also accumulated over 1,500 yards of total yards en route to becoming an All-American. Known as the Rusk Rambler, Jim Swink was a standout halfback for TCU in the mid-50s. Swink was a 2-time All-American, and as a junior, he led the nation in scoring in addition to being the second leading rusher in the country with over 1,200 yards. In a game versus Texas, Swink ran for 235 yards on 15 carries, averaging an eye-popping 15.7 yards a carry. In the 1992 Peach Bowl, it was a back-and-forth affair between East Carolina and North Carolina State, and the Pirates were led by sensational quarterback Jeff Blake who finished the game going 31 for 51 for 378 yards and 4 touchdowns as ECU outgunned the Wolfpack 37-34. Head coach Billy Kennard's Rebels marched through Atlanta in the 1971 Peach Bowl and dominated Georgia Tech 41-18, finishing the year with a 9-2 record, and this would mark the last bowl appearance for the Rebels until 1983. In a total contrast in style, the 1998 Sun Bowl featured TCU and USC with their passing attack. In the ground game of the Horned Frogs, led by Basil Mitchell and LaDainian Tomlinson, ran all over USC to the tune of 314 yards as TCU defeated the Carson Palmer-led Trojans 28-19. I like TCU in this ball game. I believe the speed on both sides of the ball will prove to be a huge problem for Ole Miss. They'll force Bo Wallace into some bad decisions and be able to get those guys off the field. And offensively, they'll make this game a track meet. So I think TCU will knock off Ole Miss in the 2014 Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.